So I recently came across this video of Charlie Kirk having a debate with this guy wearing a backwards hat about the Second Amendment. I thought the video was rather interesting because you usually don't get to see these types of back and forths too often on social media regarding the Second Amendment. And so what I wanted to do is go ahead and chime in and give my take on the backward hat guy and his responses and some of the responses that Charlie Kirk gives as well.
What would you say is the ultimate and final purpose of the Second Amendment?
I think it's self-defense against a tyrannical government, which...
We agree. Sure. Great. Keep going.
Honestly, right there, full stop. There's nothing else to be said. That's the essence of the Second Amendment. A lot of people don't actually understand it, but clearly this guy does to a certain degree because some of the other stuff he says later on just kind of blows my mind. But the founders had just fought a revolutionary war against what they saw as a tyrannical government. They won because they had their own guns. So when they built this new country, the very first thing they did was make sure the people had the same ability to fight back if another government, ours or someone else's, ever turned tyrannical. They knew firsthand what tyranny looked like, and they weren't about to leave the people defenseless against it.
Well, but I think within the Second Amendment, it also implies that we have high regulations in the first four words.
Sort of. Well-regulated militia actually meant well-armed, but that's a separate issue.
No, it's not a separate issue. It's the issue. Too many people think well-regulated means the government gets to control your guns. But here's the cognitive dissonance. In one breath, this guy admits the Second Amendment is about resisting a tyrannical government. In the next breath, he says that the same government should be the one regulating our guns. That's like saying you need a weapon to defend yourself from a robber, but also insisting the robber should decide what weapon you're allowed to have. It makes zero sense.
But
well, how do you know? You're interpreting what the Founding Fathers
Well,
put
they
in.
said it in the Federalist Papers, right? So it's not just me, but also in the Heller decision, in the 5-4 decision, that said that gun ownership was a right. This was a hotly debated thing.
What he basically said there is the debate equivalent of, well, that's just your opinion. No, it's called logic. The Second Amendment tells the government what it can't do to infringe on people's rights. Why would the founders then turn around and give that same government the power to control those rights? You don't even need to interpret it. You just need to understand why it exists, to prevent tyranny. Tyranny from who? The government. If you get that, the rest is obvious. Well-regulated back then meant well-functioning. In other words, if the people might need to form a militia to fight a tyrannical government, they need to be armed and ready to function as an effective fighting force. And the government they might have to fight doesn't get to take that away.
But so do you disagree? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you like disagree with the idea of like a federal registry like that?
Oh, without a doubt. The only reason you'd want to register the guns is if you want to confiscate them.
Exactly. A registry is basically a confiscation roadmap. You don't register your car so the DMV can admire it. You register it so they know where to find it if you break a law or stop paying for it or some shit like that. Same thing with guns. The founders didn't write the Second Amendment so the government could have a handy list of who owns what. They just fought a war against a government that literally sent soldiers to seize their weapons. They knew where to go because they knew where the guns were. That's the point. If the government knows, they can take them. Look, if you're watching this channel, I don't need to explain why the words shall not be infringed matter. But sometimes it's good to wear your beliefs on your sleeve, literally. That's why I created the Defend America collection over at shop.mrcolion.com. We have them in hats, hoodies, t-shirts, and each piece is centered around the AR-15 as a symbol of patriotism, self-reliance, and the unapologetic defense of American values. It's not just merch, it's a statement. And every time you wear it, you're reminding the world that our freedoms aren't negotiable. So if you're ready to make your stance impossible to ignore, hit the link in the description section of the video and grab your Defend America gear. And let's make sure the Second Amendment stays exactly where it is, untouched.
Well, or to make sure that people like officers of the law are protected and know what they're going into. I mean,
that's a good argument,
right?
To your credit. I will try to make a better argument where the problem of the government knowing where every gun is would then lead itself towards mass confiscation.
It's actually not a good argument. I think he's saying this just so that he doesn't seem overly combative. You see, this isn't me being anti-police. I have plenty of friends in law enforcement, but the Constitution wasn't written to protect officer safety. It was written to protect citizens from the government, including when law enforcement becomes the enforcement arm of tyranny. Plus, Criminals don't register guns, so a registry only tells you where the law-abiding citizens' guns are. The bad guys will still have unregistered guns, and the only people you'd be tracking are the ones who aren't the problem to begin with. But then again, we are the problem to begin with because they don't want us to have the guns in the first place.
And I would agree with you, a well-armed citizenry is the greatest protectorate of liberty and freedom in this country.
Even though the Army has things like drones and tanks and things like that outarm, citizens that have
yes and
just
no.
a
I
handgun?
mean, we've seen it in several instances where at least a citizen, that's a good argument, but I would say a little flawed, where the citizens are able to protect themselves in some ways. It's a much harder population to control.
Whew, this one drives me nuts. The Second Amendment isn't a guarantee you will win against a tyrannical government. It's about giving you a fighting chance. It's about deterrence. It's about making tyranny as difficult as possible. If there are millions of armed citizens, a government has to think twice before overstepping. It's about deterrence again. And history shows that smaller, less equipped forces have defeated superpowers before. Afghanistan being a perfect example. You got guys over there running around with sandals and AKs who have kept out the world's most powerful militaries for eons. Eons. But even withstanding all of that, you mean to tell me simply because you're fighting against a more powerful foe, you're just gonna give up your arms and just give up? Like, think about that. I don't want a Second Amendment right because the government is more powerful? Like, come on. Like that's what we're doing here? So even if we were guaranteed to lose, okay, so then there's no reason to give up our rights. Because what? We're just gonna make it easy for them. We're just gonna lay down, just, hey, you go ahead, do your thing. Nah, I'm cool.
I understand, but so you think a federal registry would infringe on the rights?
Potentially. I mean, I think that there's no good argument, I think, other than potential. I ascribe to the government bad motives and bad intentions when it wants to infringe more on these types of freedoms and liberties. My worldview comes out of one in the 20th century, where almost every totalitarian government went after the guns first. And the confiscation of guns then leads into the erosion of freedom and liberty.
You see, people think registries are harmless because we're not doing anything with them right now. But ask yourself, what's the point of having one? The answer is always, well, in case we need to take them away. In history, every government that has had a registry has eventually used it to confiscate weapons en masse. Australia, the UK, Nazi Germany, you name it. If it doesn't keep us safe, but it can be used against us, why hand the government that tool?
I understand, but wouldn't you say that that more guns can potentially lead to more danger and less guns?
Yes
would
and
lead to less
no.
danger?
I mean, there's plenty of evidence to show that states that have more, so if you take Houston and Chicago, about comparable populations, Houston actually has warmer weather, which means potentially more gang violence. They have about half, if not even less, the amount of homicides per year than in Chicago. Chicago has much stricter gun laws than Houston, like incredibly strict gun laws.
Charlie's example favors my position, but I'll admit, it's kind of a cherry pick. There's no conclusive global evidence that more guns always equals more danger or less danger. There are just too many other variables. But here's the thing. None of that matters. None of it matters to the Second Amendment. It doesn't say you can have guns unless it gets too dangerous. It says your rights shall not be infringed. And on a personal level, stats about overall danger mean jack shit if you're the one getting robbed in a dark alley. If you can't guarantee me I'll never be in danger, no one will try to rob me, no one will try to kill me. If you can't guarantee me that, give me my damn gun. One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together we can stop the suppression of our two-way rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.